Okay. Admit. All right. Okay, there we go. Holy goodness. How's everyone doing?
Hello, good. How are you?
Doing good. So if you're able to, there you go, Ross. If you're able to try to take yourself off of show your video.
I kept clicking it just wouldn't go away.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get started. So, when we look at last week and how we approached last week and, definitely some action items that happened out of that, which I thought was incredible. What are some things that you're looking to pull out of today? So today's a little different spin because we're going into business versus which ties together, yet it's going to be a little bit different models and systems. So what are some things that you're looking to pull away from this today? And go ahead and jump right in. Water's warm.
I just want to, glean some wisdom from you guys.
Awesome. So we got some wisdom from Ross. I love it. What else are we looking to get out of today?
Whoa. Sorry, I just dumped something.
So last week was personal. Today is more business focused. So is there an area of your business that you're really looking to pull some value and some knowledge from today's class? And then that way what we can do is circle around the different topics.
Patrick, can you hear me?
I can. Yeah, absolutely, Chris.
Okay, so I don't know if this is more COVID, but like the listing that I have that I was kind of talking about in team meeting, I've got this very reluctant buyer. And I've tried to go back to motivation, everything that we've been taught, handle each of his objections one by one. It's really fear. It's not fear so much the COVID environment, although we talked a little bit about that. I had my A game with all that. I had, the sheet from William personalized to put on the door, had all my stuff that I bought. So it's not really COVID. So I don't know if it really applies, but it's just more about a fear of moving forward, honestly, with your life when you've gone through transitions. And he kept going back to that point of well, maybe it would be easier if I do nothing. So right. Again, going back to motivation, the things that we talked about, but I don't know if there's I tried to be insightful and think of everything that I could possibly say. Even kind of using analogies with COVID, I think, it's like, okay, well, what are we doing with COVID to move forward so that we can do that safely, personally, professionally, kind of slanting it towards his business and just in real estate, and try to circle that back to, okay, if we're able to move forward, even in a COVID environment, then how can we do that on a personal basis with just in terms of moving?
Right. So, and part of this, and really the direction of this class is beyond COVID, right? So what's this next step after this? What do we want our businesses to look like on the other side of this? Because no matter what, there will be another side of it. So what, looking at that and, forecasting those thoughts in that plan out there would be, what specific things do you want in your business on the other side of this? And that could be, it could be working with buyers to overcome, emotional responses, or maybe it's sellers too, where there's a real fear about some things. And I thought that was great in team meeting today, where we kind of tied that together.
So I think the emotion is part of it, though, because people are at a heightened level. They might think that they have it with COVID, that they're fine with it, but then you add the quote unquote normal part of living with frustrations, anxieties, and then you put a move into it, and then all of a sudden you're off the chart.
So then what if we're looking at the emotions then, because tying into what we're looking to get out of the class today.
Yes.
So if we're looking at that as how to have objection handlers around emotional situations.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. What's another one, guys? That's great, Chris.
Well, Patrick, I have always, I mean, a lot of my lead generation is being face to face with people. And I
Okay.
haven't been able to do that through here because all the group activities that I do haven't been allowed.
Right.
And,
right.
and it's gonna, they're not necessarily opening back up. I mean, COVID, this is more longer term before you get into bigger groups. And so,
So is it how to counter face-to-face interactions, or how to supplement or substitute from face-to-face interactions? Is that kind of?
What do I do? Because that's my best. I'm best face-to-face with people, and
Sure.
I do really well at just meeting people and picking them up as clients. And since I can't really get out and do that, and even if you're out, you're 6 feet away with a mask on your face, so it's a little hard to.
Right. Right. Absolutely. That's great. What's another one?
I agree with that too, Patrick, just in terms of, like I've always done a lot of events, and, just now, like the question of door knocking or not door knocking, like if you have a listing and you really before have always done the just listed cards and knocked on people's doors, it's, we can mail it. We can leave it on their door and not ring the doorbell, but, what is the best way of that?
Perfect. Okay, awesome. That's perfect. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, Patrick. I think for me, it's probably a little different. What I really see is 3 things impacting the next 6 months. It's COVID, it's the election, and uncertainty. They're all hitting us all at the same time. So while I feel pretty fortunate right now, I've got a pretty good, what I'd call a run of play over the next, let's call it 9 months. I have lost some business because people are kind of mired in uncertainty and afraid. They're afraid to put their house on the market. They're afraid to go look because of their employment situation. And I think that does impact everybody's business, some more than others. So it's how do you overcome those? It's multiple things hitting people square in the face, not just every day. It's every hour of every day. And it's very tough to overcome.
Awesome. Okay. That's a great one, Mark. Thank you. What's another one? Please.
Yeah, and I was going to follow up with what Mark said, because I know, Patrick, you and I have kind of talked about our situation, and that's exactly kind of what happened. Of what we had, just a lot of business that was going to probably happen between March and May, and just a lot of people. A few that were really motivated continued on, but it's that uncertainty just wiped a lot of people. They're almost taking this year off, or like, sounds great. We'll move forward, but we're thinking next year. And I guess just kind of, how that looks, what we do in the meantime while we're waiting on them for next year. I mean, obviously you pick up other clients, but just a lot of that uncertainty, and it's kind of what everyone was saying. If it's on the buy side, a lot of them are just really uncertain about the job, and they don't want to have the commitment of, especially for a first-time buyer, they're just really afraid of that commitment right now with their job situations.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to add to what Shannon said. I think that if I look at the number of things that are working, let's say there's 30 things working between now and next year, a third of those things aren't really things right now. They've fallen out.
Yeah.
So you can't miss a lot of what's left and still make your GCI goal. You just can't. So it puts a lot of pressure on the ones that are left, but even those folks are a little loosey-goosey around the edges. So I think anything that happens can make them flitter away very quickly it's a real tenuous kind of situation that you have to, it's like riding a tightrope, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, with flames beneath us, and maybe a lion that's walking back and forth too. How about Andrea? How about for you? And Jamie, how about for you? What is something that really, you're looking to pull out of today?
Well, I
Hey,
joined
Jamie.
late, so I don't know. I mean, I feel like last week was really good with the accountability piece of it. I don't really know. I'm sorry. I missed
No,
the
don't be sorry. Just curious.
It's just nice, honestly, to get on a meeting and talk to people about real estate. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Jamie Goldman, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
So-
I guess that my kind of like what a few people have already said, two of my big legs of business, open houses and client events, have kind of fallen to the wayside because of, just the current situation, and my absence right now there is not helping. And I've done, virtual happy hours, that kind of thing, and tried to come up with creative ways to get around it. Yet there's a gap. And so I guess getting some new ideas. I function best in front of people. I'm a people person. I don't like cold calling. I don't do the door knocking. I mean, that's just never has been part of my business before. And yet I realize I need to be a little bit more creative in how I get in touch with people. Care calls were right up my alley. Like that was very good for me to just get back in front of people. I've had a handful of referrals that way recently. And, some of them it's just going to take some time because people are still a little leery. They're nervous. They want to wait. And I get it. It's not my role in this world to push them into anything that they're not ready for. But it's gotten me back in front of people and just created a lot of good conversations. That being
Good.
said, I still need to find more alternate ideas.
Got it. Okay, cool.
And I think a lot of what a lot of us were saying, and I'm hearing, is we're still finding the business and we're still making the contacts, and we can still see the business down the road. But I think we're all struggling finding the motivated right now.
Right. Thank you.
I would like
So-
to know from you guys and have your opinion too. Like I have done a lot of calls around care too, and I felt very comfortable with that. I'd still like to do it because I couldn't get to everybody. Is it still, I'd like your guys' opinion. I mean, I feel like a care call is good anytime, but we don't know if COVID is going to get worse again. We're in a very dynamic situation. It's not fluid, and you talk to people and get every different opinion. So, I'm still wondering if it's okay to call people and say, and still use COVID, because it still is a dynamic situation. We're not like in the thick of it. It's gotten better, but it could get worse again. Who knows?
Well, I think the
Ask them if they've seen
reality
the Silver
is that we
Hornet.
don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the reality, is we don't know. And it's okay to say that. It's really okay to say that. We get into trouble when we overcommit and we think and we just run with something, and then we have to go, tuck our tail and come back and say, hey, I'm sorry, I was, completely in a different direction. When we're looking at this and we're finding the motivated, which I think is awesome, by the way, how are we using the resources that are in front of us? So, for example, if you're on Facebook, right? All of us are on Facebook. Our clients are on Facebook. Like, they're all over the place. What groups are you a part of? And who's in that group, and what do those dialogues look like? Are they things that you can pull and use, into your business to be able to share as value adds? I pulled something off here, and even with KW Connect, right? Going on to KW Connect, there's resources on there. So I pulled this off, and I'll send it out, but what it is a value proposition in a shift. So has our value proposition changed? And that's, live question, right? Like, has it changed with the last 90 days of who knows what the heck's going on, and looking forward to the next 90 days, has our value proposition changed? What do you think?
I mean, I think we are always taught to come from value. So if more now than ever, right? I mean, I think it's hopefully enhanced because that's what we really have to offer.
Right. So do we have it written down? Do we have a value proposition written down where I could literally say, Andrea, what's your value proposition, right? Like if I was sitting and we were going back and forth, not off the cuff, do we have it written down? Is it in our packets? Is it in the things that we send out? How are we distinguishing ourselves from the rest of the pack? Because we're individual people surrounded in a community, right? So, and each one of us have different strengths. In fact, if I looked at open houses, as taking open houses as an example, or client events, each one of us that are on the call right now have different methods, even though they may be similar, different methods to our open house, different methods of approaching someone coming into our open house, right? Door knocking. What does that look like? So are we getting very, very clear? And I say this because this is a strategy that top producers are using right now. They're going back into their business and saying, is my value proposition the same? And do I really know what it is where I could write it down in one sentence? And that may be something, you know, to put into your business. And it's just an idea. I mean, what are your thoughts around that?
Well, we can't do the same, you know, everything that we normally do. Like we can't do open houses right now. And that's usually, you know, part of what we do with people is we advertise what kind of, you know, open houses we do. Some people would freak out if they thought you were going to do door knocking because,
right,
you know, oh my gosh, you're going to get exposed to all those people, or I don't want, you know, I mean, and you're door knocking, and, you know, you can't invite them to something. So you're just door knocking, which is different, which I probably, you know, inviting them to an open house is one thing. Me door knocking a neighborhood, just to door knock a neighborhood, probably not going to happen because I know me. And so it really is about, you know, what are your clients comfortable with and their fears. I think those of us that are relationship based, it's a strength to have that right now because they're looking for somebody that they can really trust. They want them to do a good job, but they're looking for that relationship that gives, because they're looking for someone to tell them everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So what's interesting, and it ties into what you just said, Holly, is that when we look at a value proposition in a shift, in a market shift, which, oh, by the way, we have a market shift.
Yeah.
And we do. And it's a combination of emotional and actual. And so, and now could that be dependent on the neighborhood, dependent on the home, dependent on all kinds of different variables? Of course. Is there a shift? And the bottom line is yes. So underneath the value proposition is meeting your clients where they are, right? If you had a value proposition for your real estate business before the shift, it still applies today. In a shift, ask yourself what your clients need in this market. What they want hasn't changed. So you'll need to adapt your value proposition to use client-centered language to align with what your clients want and need. Here's what's interesting. When we look at what sellers want, 20% of sellers want to help the seller market the home to potential buyers, of course, right? 20% want to help the seller market home to potential buyers. Now, 20% also want help to price the home competitively. Notice this isn't 80%, right? It's 20%. 19% want help to sell the home within a specific time frame. Now, that time frame may have changed, as all of us have talked about, with the current environment and what has happened the last 90 days. Those time frames may change, which lead into the questions, right? 14% of sellers want help finding a buyer for a home, right? They're the buyer. They want to know, right? We talked about it in the team meeting today. Too much competition. How do you pivot with that and create value around that? 14% of sellers want help with the seller to fix up the home to sell it for more, right? And that actually was that Dwayne or William, I believe, today said that in the team meeting, talking about how there's an equity position for someone who wants to come in and, you know, spruce up the home, however that can look. Now, so here's what's interesting. When we flip it to the buyer side, what buyers want in a market shift, 31% is the reputation of the agent. Now, around the reputation of the agent is going to be a very clear and concise value proposition that separates you from the pack, right? It's your unique selling proposition. It's your USP. 19% of buyers want an agent that is honest and trustworthy. 15% want an agent who's a friend or family member. Now, my question around that would be, what type of experience do they have in this current market? And are we using the statistics around what's going on outside our walls versus what's going on inside our walls? Outside our walls, as of last year in the fourth quarter, 38% of realtors and licensees in the Denver area hadn't sold a home in 12 months. So whether you're a friend or family member, if you don't have experience in selling a home within a market shift, especially an overnight one, how are you going to pivot, right? Or who is in your corner supporting you so it shows it as a team, as a community that's selling the home, not an individual. 13% is the agent's knowledge of the neighborhood. That's what buyers want. And 4% of what buyers want is an agent that has a caring personality and a good listener. Now, I would counter that a little bit, especially right now, because there's so many emotional plays going on. Any thoughts on that here real quick before I keep going?
It's just very all over the board. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, Patrick, one of the stories that I actually use this as a personal story, because I was a part-time realtor for 3 years. And I did exert some effort into the part-time business. However, I was not going to compete with the 6 or 7 people on this call because I was not knowledgeable enough. I wasn't deep enough in the business, and I was not available enough. So the value that you bring, talk about that 40% that haven't sold a house. I was selling houses part-time, but not a lot. And I really believe that part of what I talk about is that I've been full-time 15 months now. I've learned more in that 15 months than I did in the previous 4 years because I did the business. I did transactions. I did contract to close. I did heavy marketing, still do it. And it really does show now because I'm doing it every day. I think it's a big disadvantage to be a part-time realtor. I'm surprised I sold anything, frankly, knowing what I know, because Holly, I would go to her and just say, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me? That's a crutch. It's a crutch when you're in front of a client and she's not there with you, or a experienced realtor, not Holly specifically, but somebody to help you with that. So I think it's been a really big advantage for me to be able to gain the expertise I needed in the last year.
Awesome. Love hearing that.
Yeah.
What are some other thoughts? That was great, Mark.
Thanks.
It's interesting. Yeah, Andrea, please.
I was gonna say, you're talking about, I got distracted by clients a little bit, but you're talking about value proposition. And I feel like, I've done this before, but COVID kind of like, I couldn't tell you what it was. But I felt like, and I mentioned this to Jamie earlier today, when we talk about how we're doing business now, there's methods of doing business that cannot be done anymore. So all of the agents are out there kind of doing the same thing. So I see a ton of Facebook ads. I see a ton of, virtual tours, things like that. And I think that that's that value proposition when we talk about how I'm different than another agent. Like I need to look at that, not just because I do open houses and because of my personal connection. I need to look at how I can be different from other agents in this time when I can't do open houses and I can't knock on doors and I can't have that personal connection. How can I differentiate myself within the boundaries of whatever I have to work now? So
Well said.
I got a lot from that.
Yeah, no, well said, because you're right, right? It's, think of it this way. When we were last year at this time, you drive through Highlands Ranch, you see open house signs everywhere, right? I mean, being real, you go through Castle Pines, you see open house signs. Probably not the same, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie, but they're probably not the same amount as in Highlands Ranch, yet you see them. And it seems like your perception is you see them on every single corner.
Especially by soil.
Yeah, well, are we, and that was a strategy that he has, right? Now, are we seeing that on social media now, every single corner?
Yes.
See, what happens is that when we think that it's the tools that we have in front of us, that's not the value proposition. The value proposition is you, your strengths. Have you written down a top 10 list of what your strengths are and why? If you were to write down a top 10 list of exactly what your strengths are and why, now you can take that, formulate it into a sentence or 2 sentences, something where it has to be concise, because otherwise we get lost. That the tools then support the value proposition. It's not the value proposition is created out of the tools. And I think that's where there's the disconnect that happens online. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's true, because you have to differentiate yourself, and it's not going to be, you know, necessarily your listing presentation or your buyer presentation, because you're kind of doing the same things as everybody else. It really is yourself. And Mark and I utilize that we're a team, so they get 2 for the price of 1, and we each handle, you know, you'll be working with one of us, but the other one will be in the background. And, you know, if there's conflicts or whatever with time that one, you know, the other one might be able to jump in to show a house or whatever. Plus, we utilize each other's strengths for different parts of the transaction.
So let me ask a question then. For those of us who don't have a team that we're running, do we have those who are behind us and supporting us?
Mm-hmm.
You're never alone, is what my
Right.
point is. So when you really dive in and you look at this and you say, okay, awesome, here are some of the benefits of a team. Each and every one of you have a team.
Yes.
I really mean that. And if we have X amount of sales, or we have the lack of X amount of sales, are we using what your brokerage is doing? Because you're knocking it out of the park, right? That's a value proposition. That is part of something that you could use. Or it could be a support to your value proposition. So if we look at other things that could be in front of us, right? How many of us are on Nextdoor?
I am.
Right? So what do you find with Nextdoor? I know, Jamie Goldman, I know.
Oh, I have a love-hate relationship with Nextdoor.
I do too.
Right? I think a lot of us do. So the question
There's too many
is,
Karens on there.
well, yeah. And is it how people are communicating in the neighborhood? Right? So some of this is how you get started with Nextdoor. Do you have a profile on there? Do you join the neighborhood, right, that you live in within Nextdoor? The other thing is, do you introduce yourself using your personal page? You know, hey, I'm your local realtor expert, or something along those lines, right? Digitally greeting the neighborhood by creating a post. So for example, share your name, how long you've been a resident, your interests, your hobbies, right? If you come in hard as a real estate agent, what's going to happen?
Everybody ignores you.
Uh-huh. It's spam, right? It's spam. And we all know those agents that do it. So, are we creating or claiming your free business page on Nextdoor? This, by the way, is on KW Connect. So are we using resources around that? So this, for example, right? All right, reach out to some of the groups, and to gather recommendations on Nextdoor. Sphere of influence, your vendors, who do we work with, our allied resources, past clients, friends, and family. As we start to build that out, now it starts to take shape. Providing relevant, underlining the word relevant, community information. So that could be really, getting real, that could be lost and found pets, could be local events. What's the local history in your neighborhood or surrounding neighborhoods? What's the local history in Highlands Ranch or Castle Pines? How was Castle Pines created? Why? Right? Castle Rock, same question. So what restaurant openings or recommendations, especially right now, right? Like, I want to know, personally, I want to know what restaurants are open. I like to eat at Duke's in Castle Pines. They have a great ribeye, right? What are their hours? Are they still doing a menu? We went to Olive Garden the other night, because quite honestly, we were out of choices. And we went, did you know that at Olive Garden, if you buy an entree, they will actually sell you an additional one that already is prepackaged for $5? I didn't know that.
You don't hang out with old people, because let me tell you, old people love Olive Garden. They love it.
Andrew, just watch it.
Oh, guess what? I was like, you know what? I don't have lunch plans the next day, and I'm going to be here in the office. A $5 chicken Alfredo sounds pretty darn good to me, right?
Yeah.
If I'm being an agent, if I'm on Nextdoor and I'm taking advantage of that, am I sharing that? Like things like that. What is, I had no idea until I went in that Olive Garden had an adjusted menu as well. And it was kind of funky, right? Do the restaurants that we love, are they doing full order menus? Are they doing not? Are they doing types of incentives? Are there things going on that we could share on Nextdoor and start to build that community? Because a $5 lunch is pretty sweet, right? Like, being real. And it wasn't pizza from Little Caesars. So,
I'm like, this
here's
one
another.
I'm sorry.
Go for it.
I wanted to say, you can do that on Facebook. And Facebook isn't nearly as awful as Nextdoor. Like, people are nice.
So what if you did the combination? Because we're attracting different demographics, right? Even Instagram too. What if I snapped a picture of that $5 deal I got at Olive Garden and posted it on Instagram and said, hey guys, did you know? All I'm trying to do is create engagement. Once I get engagement, I can do private messaging. I can do all those things to take it to that next level. The key is the very first step, finding the motivated, finding the engagement, right? Without engagement, it's very, very challenging. And all of us are social people for the most part. Really. And this being real is not easy. This is hard. So acknowledging that and then making a plan around it, not acknowledging and then I can't do this or can't do that. What can I do? So another thing, when you look at, and again, you could take this to Nextdoor or Facebook or LinkedIn even, right? Like LinkedIn is business to business. So cool, which businesses locally are either struggling or they have adjusted hours or there's something different. Could I build a community around that with business to business? Top agents across the country right now are doing that exactly. Are they running into the same challenges we are? Yes, they are. They're just figuring out a way to wrap themselves around it to create a solution of it. They're figuring out a way to flip that rock, right? That's really the difference. It's not that they don't have challenges, I promise. Another thing could be, free activities, right? What if you snapped a picture of the dog parks that are in the area? You know, behind us is the bluffs, you know, and people are on the bluffs, right? Doing hiking and all that other stuff. So it could be dog parks or I mean, goodness gracious, there's a ton of people at dog parks. Ton. I get anxious going to a dog park. Guy brings Samson and he's like 130 pounds. I don't know who he's going to eat. Somebody. And with walking trails, family-friendly events. What's going on in Highlands Ranch or our surrounding communities that's a family-friendly event that we can invite our database to or invite our neighbors to? I'll give you an example on a park. So where we're at in MacArthur Ranch, I had no idea, but apparently there's this pretty sweet park that's there somewhere. And so it took the neighbors all chatting at the end of the driveway, and then boom, off go the moms and pushing the strollers to the park, right? They got there, I think, 45 minutes later. And, you know, it was one of those things where it's free and it was nice. And now they're going back and creating a community on who's going to be there. So that could be skate parks too, right? Like kids right now, more than ever, and parents are trying to figure out ways to do this, right? Like, are we putting our kids in organized sports? Are we not? Is there a safety concern within that or not? Are we going to play the game, or do we need to figure out something different? That's why community is so impactful right now. And with business, it all ties together because you work with who you trust. If you trust them, you care about them, you think they're looking out for your best interests, you'll work with them. And that's the same thing with our database.
Hey,
The
Patrick,
difference is, yeah, go for it.
I'm sorry. I was just going to add, and I wanted to get a good breaking point there. On LinkedIn, and it's probably my biggest social media platform because of my background. One of the things that's real easy to do, and you can even do it on the LinkedIn app, is doing a kudos for a partner. So let's say your stager did a great job, your transaction coordinator. You got to be a little careful on the mortgage side because you usually using more than one. But it's real easy to pull it up, and it gives you a nice little template. And you got to come up with a one sentence. Hey, thanks, Jamie. I really appreciate your help on that deal that we did. Your staging was awesome. Provide a lot of value to my client. Blah 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 blah. And you don't have to create anything, find anything, look it up, bring it over, cut and paste. If anybody wants to know how to do it, I'll show you. It's real simple.
Awesome.
I don't use it as much as I should. I wish I could say I use it all the time, but it's pretty neat.
Mark, would you put your contact info in the chat, and then that way, you know, we have it. So I think that's a great point. A great point. And it's a different way of thinking, isn't it? So here's something. What new business opportunities are being created right now? Because we're getting, you know, as a society, or even, you know, you go on Fox News or whatever, are they talking about the new businesses that are being created? They're talking about the ones that are going into foreclosure, or they're running into issues or something, right? In times of any kind of change or market shift, there's new opportunity. So what are some of the new opportunities that are being created, even in our neighborhoods? That's something that could be a topic within Nextdoor or on Facebook or whichever platform you wanted to do, right? Another one that is hyper localized, what are the school updates that are in your area? What if you were the source that everyone leaned on? That's a topic that has so much uncertainty right now, you know, and even in our household. So what if you were the source? What if instead of me going to Wildcat Elementary, I went to Cindy? Now, if I'm going to Cindy to find out about the school updates, what could be some of the questions that come out of that, right? How many kids do we have? What ages are they? What does that look like? I mean, all those different pieces. Jamie, go for it.
So I think that just to throw this out there, I think it's so important that if you're sharing information, and it's great to be doing that, to be the one who is full of knowledge, it's so important to make sure that your information that you're sharing is accurate and non, you know, that you're not going to cause any kind of a ruckus or, you know, confrontation. And I mean, there are
Right.
so many nasty, opinionated people out there that if you word something the wrong way and make it seem like you're pro or con anything, I mean, you're going to get chewed out, you know, chewed up and spit out. So I think that when you provide information, it has to be from really good sources. I mean, directly from the source, not, you know, third party. Hey, I heard from my neighbor that blah, 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 because that's
Yes.
just not a good idea.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, and it could really, really backfire.
So, and I couldn't agree more, right? Like, I think that's massively important. So could it be that we're going, if it's the schools, we're going to the Douglas County's website. We're finding out from verified resources to be able to share. Now, if it's something localized like next door, then that could actually, as long as your information is correct, and I would hope and pray that it is, and thank you, Jamie, because goodness gracious, I can't imagine that. Yeah, school's forever closed. No one's ever going back to school, right? So that's a great message. But what can we share that can actually start to create results, right? For example, so let's do a role play here real quick. So who wants to role play with me?
What?
Andrea, awesome. All right, cool. I'm the agent and you're in the neighborhood, okay?
Okay.
All right, ring, ring.
Hello?
Hey, Andrea. Now, this is me having Andrea's phone number, right? So hey, Andrea, quick question for you. I know that, you know, I was talking with one of the principals over at Wildcat Elementary, and I was just curious, do you have any children in the house that may or may not be interested, and you guys may or may not be interested in knowing some of the upcoming information that's happening right now since things are changing so quickly?
Oh, I would love to know what the schools are going to do. If you happen to know when the pools are going to be open and where I can take my kids when they're driving me crazy, that's even better.
That is a perfect question. And I'll tell you what I'd love to be able to do with that, Andrea, is I'm going to research that and reach back out to you tomorrow and give you some information around that. Now, my question, Andrea, is, you know, when we're looking at, you know, the schools opening back up, I know you had mentioned before when we were communicating that you had 1 or 2 children. Is that correct?
I have 2, one in middle school and one in elementary school.
Oh my gosh. So you have a busy, busy house.
Mm-hmm.
So question for you, with all this craziness that's been happening here and with the uncertainties going on and just, you know, really, how are you guys doing? As you know, how are you doing and how is your family doing?
We're doing okay. It's a tough summer. A lot of our trips got canceled and the kids aren't seeing their friends as much. So we're trying to get creative and to keep them busy, and I still have to work. So that's been tough.
Oh, wow. So are you working from home then, Andrea, or are you going into an office?
Nope, I'm working from home right here in my bedroom. My office is all set up behind me.
Oh my goodness. So you're working from home, you're out of your bedroom, which is, you know, I commend you for that. How long have you been working out of your bedroom for?
Well, we don't have an extra bedroom for an office. So ever since I needed an office at home, I've been in the bedroom.
Oh my goodness. Hey, you know, one of the things I love about our neighborhood is the fact that it's been appreciating in value. And there's a lot of buyers that are still interested in moving into our neighborhood. Did you know that?
We
Yeah.
might need a bigger house.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So I'll tell you what, being that you're working out of your bedroom, and gosh, wouldn't it be amazing to have that extra room? What if we could sit down together, even if it's virtually, and I could show you, 1, that there's a market for your home, and 2, there's actually some homes that are on the market right now that could potentially be a great fit for you. And now you have your own home office.
I'd love to see some of those, actually.
Very cool. So let's get together tomorrow and right? Do you see where I'm going with that? Like it's a very natural conversation without it being salesy.
Okay. To be fair though, I let it be a natural conversation because I'm also a real estate agent. So I saw where it was going a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a natural, like when you know their pain points a little bit to, hey, that sucks. Do you want an extra room? I bet you could afford one now.
So one of the things that I did with that is Ford, family, occupation, recreation, dreams, right? What's the family? What's the occupation? Are they working from home? Are they not, right? What is their recreation they like to do? Do they want to be near a dog park or parks or whatever that looks like, right? And what are their dreams? Oh my gosh, if I could just have one room where I'm not working out of my bedroom, right?
Yeah.
Very real conversation. So cool, have your real estate needs changed in 2020. We don't know till we ask. The key around this is it all came from having information about the schools or something localized. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you have to start the conversation somewhere, so it's better to come, I think, from something natural, which shows that we're trying to come from value and be, helpful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. What are some of your other thoughts? I mean, poke holes through it. That was off the cuff, right?
Well, I think a couple things I would say that I'm noticing is the commercial trend can help fund some of this home office stuff. Commercial trend is away from the big city. And it's a simple question. It's hard to argue with it. Are you sensing that in your neighborhood, that some people are saying that some of these bigger offices downtown, they're going more virtual, partially virtual, maybe moving the office to the suburbs or even going completely remote? That's a fact. And the other one that has worked well for me, and maybe it's my personal situation, is has COVID impacted you personally? Was it a friend? Was it a coworker? Was it a colleague? I mean, I have been shocked at how many people will tell you their COVID story. They all think they had it. It's pretty amazing. And they tell you about their 2-week sickness, and that just opens up a lot, in my opinion, a lot of way to link in with your clients and become that trusted person to help them with real estate, because it'll open up the real estate conversation, but you got to get that linkage first. The COVID thing has been really good for me. I got to be honest.
Awesome.
I have a good story to tell too.
I love it. Let's hear it.
Oh, no, just with Holly and I,
yeah.
What happened 3 months ago was, and it's amazing to me how many people, I've had friends that tell me they think they gave it to us because of this event. And I've had people that said, hey, we believe we had it. We just didn't know we had it. This is back in January. And it really is kind of opens up a lot of how we can really be very transparent and good resources for them, because I get stories to tell. This is what we did. This is how we did it. This is what we took. This is where it went. So I don't know. It seems like a big disadvantage that we have it. I actually think it's an advantage, because now people are wondering, you've been through it already. Tell us your story so we can manage through it as well.
Well, it's interesting because it brought me back to something PJ said on the team meeting, and that was, the market is the market, production is the choice, right? So there is, no matter what, there are homes being bought and sold all over Denver. And they're finding out a way to do it. The key is how do we do that, right? And playing off of our strengths. A couple other things here that top agents are doing across the country right now is, obviously you're looking at platforms like Zoom or video conferencing tools. I thought this was really interesting. It seems absolutely common sense. And when you're doing a post, when you're talking on Zoom, are we recording it so we can go back and take a look and say, hey, how was my body language with that? How was my engagement? What we find is if we're delivering a message, yet our body language is like this, or it's leaning in, or it's, something a little bit different, right? Then it could either help the message or conflict against the message. So are we cognitive of our body language? for those of us who are awesome when we're in front of people, that's one of the things, right? Is that our body language. We rely on that. That's the same thing with Zoom or any of these other video platforms. So, and it's just, and having fun with it, right? Like that's the other key piece is be light about it, yet have a very direct message when you're coming through. What are your thoughts on that? I think it's kind of common sense, but it seems to be when you go on to Facebook and you go on to some of these other, or even jump on Zooms, and things don't always work out as planned. Murphy shows up. How are we pivoting when Murphy does show up? So the steps may not be missed or whatever. It may end up being that we're dialing it in. Then, and what we're going to talk about also next week is really the models and the systems and how we tie it all together, right? So these are all different strategies that we're using. What is an action item each of us can take over this next week, and myself included, each of us can take over this next week that says, hey, this is something where I can focus in on to find them motivated, to be able to connect with our neighborhood or our past clients. So who would like to share an action item they'll take?
I have one. Another realtor on my street actually created a Facebook group for just 3 streets in my neighborhood. And I've been a member of this group for the beginning, but Highlands Ranch, 4th of July, 5K parade, fireworks, everything is canceled. So I thought how great, the neighborhood did it for graduation, but how great would it be to be like, hey, who wants to do a small 4th of July parade on our neighborhood, in our street? Kind of reach out and see if anybody wants to do that. And then, you know, supply ice cream sandwiches and bomb pops, and we do fireworks in our front yard anyway. So just a way to connect with my immediate neighbors. Like I said, somebody already set up the system for me. So it's just a matter of using it.
Love that. That is an awesome action item. What's another one?
Well, I really liked Mark's idea about the LinkedIn, because I've always kind of struggled on what to put on LinkedIn. So just the fact of jumping on there and just giving people credit that you've recently done business with. I think it's a wonderful idea because I agree. I'm probably not going to jump on Nextdoor. Just not my my thing. Yeah, it seems like people are just a lot of complaining on there. but I like the LinkedIn side.
Okay, awesome. Love that, Shannon. What's another one?
I'm going to steal Shannon's and do my own because I haven't been doing it, and just use that. It's called Kudos, Shannon. I'll show you how to use it. We'll connect. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Very cool. Sounds like a little accountability partner there. That's awesome.
Sounds good.
What's another one?
So I'm going to reach out to my, agents that have sent me business and that I've sent business to in different states. And what prompted me to think of this is I just got a phone call a little while ago from an agent in Florida that, I've met at family reunion and we catch up regularly. And the whole point is to just come from contribution, find out how her business is, how has COVID affected things in their area, because it's different than ours. I'll tell you, like, being in Florida right now, it's like COVID never happened. Like, nobody's wearing masks. Nobody gives a shit about anything. It's kind of crazy. But it's interesting to hear what's going on in other parts of the country, with agents that I've, sent referrals to and vice versa. So to catch up with them and see how I can help, it's just a way to reconnect with people. And I haven't done that lately.
That's awesome. That is a fantastic action item. What's another one? That's great, Jamie.
Well, I want you to know I did my action items for last time. Just
good job, Holly. So what's our action item for this time?
This time I am going to identify some way that I can connect with people to start having more contacts. And
So if you knew what that was, what would that look like?
Patrick's such a closer.
I know. He's talking to me while I'm on. I've taken like 3 Tylenol too. So, I don't know. Maybe I mean, I've thought about trying to do it, or I've thought about doing. I'm correcting myself with my bad language. Setting up a virtual happy hour, or even finding 2 people to go out with.
Okay, awesome.
know.
So an action item could be going, finding 2 people to, you mean like go to a restaurant, or do you mean
Yes.
like,
Yeah,
okay,
go to a
an
restaurant.
actual, that
Yeah.
thing called restaurants? Yeah, okay.
Thing called, because you have to go to a restaurant because the bars aren't really open. It's hard to,
All the servers are behind the bars is what's going on. So
because you can't, huh?
I said it's all the servers that are behind the bar. That's why.
I
So, okay, awesome. That's great, Holly. So we'll find 2 that would go to a restaurant. How about Ross? How about for you?
I've got so much to do. I am working on, learning scripts and everything already, but I've also been trying to expand my social media presence and really tap into. I've been getting onto LinkedIn, and I didn't know about the Nextdoor business, so I need to set that up. But there's lots of good stuff. I feel like I'm kind of going to lean heavily on social media, at least for now, while I'm trying to establish more relationships in person.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have a great social media calendar. It's only good for 1 month, but I can forward it to you if you'd like it.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Just
Cindy, how about, yeah,
put your email in the chat and I'll email it to you.
perfect. Cindy, how about for you? What's an action item that you can take?
You there?
I've got one, Patrick.
Awesome.
So I'm just trying to, I've been thinking about this and talking with the person at an event that I had a long time ago. I had a lady who was a face painter and a balloon tire. And so we've talked about doing something virtual for all the kids that need, something to do, about doing a virtual balloon tie activity.
Oh, nice.
Love it. Love it. Love it. That's cool.
How do we, I don't really know how to set that up as far as the Zoom. Is that a hard thing to do?
No, you could set it up as groups and break everyone apart into groups and then have them come back in again and have the balloon tire actually pop into each group. So there's ways of doing it. It's just a matter of, getting used to the system. So play around with it a little bit. Or you could even do something where it's like the whiteboard and you're showing them how to do it, right?
Can you do it on Facebook Live too?
Possibly, I'd check into it. Not sure, but I would check into it.
Just a little hint on the Zoom, because we did some happy hours, virtual happy hours over a course of several evenings, so we wouldn't have too many people at once. First, make sure you pay for premium, because the first night that we did that, we got cut off 50 minutes into it, and then so the second night we had to figure it out. But yeah, but pay the premium membership so you don't get cut off.
Yeah. Great point, Shannon. Great point. Okay. Chris, how about for you? What's an action item that you're going to take?
Oh, that was just me saying that.
Oh, that was you. Okay, Chris, perfect. I thought that was Cindy for a moment. Do we still have Cindy, or do we lose Cindy?
She's gone.
Ah,
hey,
I said action items.
Patrick, so, I want to update my action item. I'm going to invite a person to happy hour or to meet for, appetizers or whatever at a restaurant, and have them bring someone I don't know.
Perfect. That right there, Holly, that is awesome. Because you're increasing your database at the same time, and you're doing it through your database, not around it. that is one of the strategies that top producers are doing right now. So that is awesome. I know we're out of time here for today. And next week, tune in and I'm asking, bring a guest, right? Bring someone from our market center, bring someone, maybe they're not from our market center, that you think would find value. We're diving into the models and systems next week that have to do with personal and business. And we're putting a bow on the whole thing. What I would suggest is that if you have a copy, if you don't have a copy, come see me. Take a look at Millionaire Real Estate, right? Because of the models and the systems in there. I know Renee's doing her class tomorrow, check it out. And even if you can only check it out for part of it, at least you'll get ingrained in it to where now it's not you're just reading a book. The models and systems become more tangible. Another book to pick up is Shift, because we're in one. So there's tactics that are in here that you can use in this market today. And what you're finding is that a lot of the top producers out there, both individuals and teams, they're using these tactics off as Shift. They're just tweaking them about the market of the moment. So just think is some things may not be applicable, but how can you make it applicable? That becomes the question. So with that, thank you all. I appreciate each of you. And it's awesome seeing everyone on here. So looking forward to seeing everyone in person. All right, gang. Take care.
Have a nice day.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
Patrick.